My dad thought he would start a funeral home here. He went to all the banks, tried to borrow money. None of the banks would let him borrow money, even though he was a veteran.
Being a black business owner, especially a black restaurant, some people come in with the perception of mediocrity. My thing that I tell my team, we need to prove them wrong every single time. We do everything with integrity, and we're going to do unto others like we would like others to do unto us.
If you want to be successful in business, be honest and truthful and get what you can do. Don't look for nobody to give you nothing.
My dad came to Arizona as a Tuskegee Airman of one of 11 men to integrate Luke Air Force Base as an experiment to see if integration would work moving forward in the armed forces. And that is how he came to Arizona, and as a fighter pilot in advanced gunnery training in the P-51 Mustang in 1945 through 1946. My father, when he came out here, he saved his money, and all the money that he saved, he ended up buying a lot off 1100 East Jefferson Street. You couldn't buy property north of Van Buren at the time. So he bought a lot there, and in wanting to build a funeral home, because my family comes from the funeral home industry. We started in the mortuary business back in 1896, 97 in Oklahoma when it was still a territory in Muskogee. He went to all the banks, tried to borrow money. None of the banks would let him borrow money, even though he was a veteran. And so he didn't know what to do after he had submitted his last request from one of the bankers to bring the paperwork in. And on his way out, the gentleman said, Lincoln Ragsdale, I just want to let you know that this bank will never, ever let you borrow any money. A gentleman had walked past him, walked by and saw my father. He left going home. My father's still standing in the same place. He turned to my father and said, excuse me, sir, why are you still standing here? You've been here all afternoon. My father said, I'm trying to borrow money. He told him the story. And he said, well, come on up to my office. This gentleman's name was E. Harry Hersher. We went up there, started talking to each other. The gentleman said, Ragsdale, I will let you borrow the money from me. I'm an architect, but you have to let me design your building for you. My father said that would be fine. The gentleman that my father borrowed $35,000, gave him 15 years to repay him back. My dad paid him back within 10 years, and so my dad built the funeral home. My dad had gone to Arizona State University and had a degree in economics, and so he started a real estate company. He also started an insurance company, so he could sell insurance to, of course, predominantly black people. He started trying to do land development, and we ended up building some buildings in the 80s.
Well, we came because I had a brother here. So he asked me to come and help him with the church. And he had a cafe at 1029 up the street. It was called Church Cafe. And so we came, me and my 4 children. The oldest one stayed with his dad because we were separated. And we came to Phoenix in 63. We left the last day of 62. We was riding New Year's 63. When we first got here, those jobs wasn't open, and it was just a few blacks coming in. And just like I said, all we had was the people that worked on city at night. But when the jobs came forth, then everybody started coming to the cafe. A lot of people started coming from the word of mouth. When the people would come and eat, they'd say, oh, you go to Miss White's. And I was making pies and cobblers and greens and cabbage and red beans, black-eyed peas. People started calling Miss White's Golden Rule. So that's what it's called.
From a young age, I was always in the kitchen with my grandmother. I'm my grandmother's first grandchild. So she always wanted to have me around. Every day I'm with my grandma and she's going to get chicken from Food City, and she's going to get collard greens from Willie I. Tully and candy yams. And you know, she's cutting them, cleaning them greens and cleaning chitlins and frying chicken and cutting yams. You know, I'm just thinking, oh, I know how to cook. I never wanted to go into the restaurant business because I always saw how hard my father and my grandmother worked and how deadbeat tired they would be. And I was like, oh man, I know there gotta be a better way, you know? But, you know, once again, they were working for themselves. And I'm young, but now that I'm older, it all makes sense. I graduated high school in 1990, and you know, you graduate high school, you're trying to figure out what you're going to do. So I joined, I signed up for community college, and I was like, you know, I'm tired of school. So I started an independent record label in 1992. We started doing some recordings with LA artists, and we would be in the recording studios, and after those late night sessions, we would always end up at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. And man, when I found out about Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles in the early 90s, I fell in love. I loved the combination of sweet and savory. So when we be doing late night sessions here at our recording studio in Phoenix, Arizona, a lot of the guys would say, man, I sure could go for some Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. So I go to Kmart, of all places, and I buy a little waffle baker, and I go to my house, and I get my grandmother's pancake recipe, and on my electric stove and cast iron skillet, I start frying up some fried chicken. So after the next session, some guys made the comment, oh my goodness. Everybody's ranting and raving and talking about my chicken and waffles. When I asked my grandmother for the opportunity to showcase my Lolo's Chicken and Waffles, she said yes, of course. I got my first brick and mortar on this same corner where we're at today, Central and Yuma Street. It was a little small house, about 800 square feet. I was only able to seat 20 people at a time. I got that building in 2000, and it took me about 2 years, 2002, before I was able to open my doors to the public to let everybody come in and sit down.
I think being a black business owner is one of the hardest jobs in America because you don't have support from, at least especially during the time my dad started, you don't have the bank support, you don't have a lot of the support system that another person might have who works for a corporation. Of course, there were no jobs for blacks in upper management. I think also the disadvantage my dad had that he wished he could have had, and somewhat myself too, was that when you're members of like maybe a country club or whatever, they talk among each other and they make the deals. And so you aren't able to be in the conversation, as they would say, I'm not in the room. So you aren't in the room where the deals are made. And obviously they were not interested in helping black people. You are forced to stay within a realm of which the people of power will let you move within. Being a black businessman in Arizona is a big challenge. I take my hat off to all black businessmen and all self-employed businessmen because I know how difficult it is, and especially when you're a person of color, how much extra you have to work.
You have to be a mother and a businesswoman, and it go together. You have to take care of your children and see what they need, and you have to take care of the business and supply that. So it keeps you on your toes. Work hard, be honest, and get what you can do. Don't look for nobody to give you nothing. If you work for what you need, get yourself in a position. I don't have degrees, I have certificates in business, but what I have, I work with it. Me and the Lord. If you want to be successful in business, first be honest. Be honest and truthful. And don't try to cheat nobody. Do everybody the same way.
Being a black entrepreneur, it can be tricky sometimes. There's a lot of assumption. And a lot of people think just because you are an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, that you're still not a real person. And I'm as real as they come. To some other entrepreneurs, maybe outside of my race, I might be considered a threat. Being a black business owner, especially a black restaurant, some people come in with the perception of mediocrity. They think just because it's a black-owned business that it's not going to be ran successfully. And my thing that I tell my team, we need to prove them wrong every single time. That's why we keep an impeccable, clean establishment. We do everything by code. We do everything with integrity.